Jordan.
We finally have moved away from a cell phone that runs everything, and I have a phone. We have
That's
an actual phone in the office. We're not passing around a cell phone all day for whoever is available to answer calls. So
love
we're a
that.
little bit more mature than we were. When we're in a metal building, so cell phone reception in a metal building really sucks.
Yeah.
I was trying like everything. I put like an antenna on the roof, like nothing helped. So it's nice now too that like we're not missing call. Like sometimes we just get a missed call that pops up on the cell phone. Sometimes when we're trying to talk to someone, it's real staticky or it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. Yeah. So we have like a professional thing. And I was also, well, I'll wait until the questions portion for that.
Well, there's a question for you actually, Jordan, that just came through the chat. Kyle is wondering how you made the transition from the cell phone to the landline. Like, was that a hard transfer? Did you just call your phone provider? What did that look like?
So we use Cox Communication for the landline before we had Verizon. There was some issues with porting the line, so we still have to keep the Verizon line and we just call forward everything to it. But that kind of works out so that when we do leave the office, we can still take that phone with us, and then we have the ability to answer when I'm at home or whatever if there's an after hours call. But yeah, the price was honestly pretty comparable. We got 3 lines, so me, myself, and our office gal, or sorry, me, my wife, and the office gal each have our own extension there. And there was an onboarding process yesterday that Stacy did. It was a little lengthy, but it's set up now. And I mean, the phones are just plug and play, but the onboarding process, and there's like an app that you can also monitor things like call forwarding and stuff like that in. But I don't know. It's much better. I mean, you just pick up the phone and it works versus having to deal with static and dropping calls and stuff like that.
Right. And it's so nice still having the option to take the phone with you if you need. Anytime I have a client who's making this transition, I always tell them, hey, talk to your phone provider first. See what options they provide. You already have a relationship. That's probably going to be the easiest. There are a ton of voice over IP systems. Jordan, I see that you guys use one and you really like it. You put it in the chat here for others. But I would always look at 2 or 3 different options, start with your phone provider and kind of go from there. But I think, Jordan, what you're doing is best practice where you have the landline in the office and it can transfer to your phone when needed. That's
Yeah,
great.
like, so it ended up being a difference of just a couple bucks, right? And I was like pig-headed that like we were just going to continue our systems. And it's kind of like anything in life. The hard thing is usually the right thing, the thing that's going to take a little bit more effort. And so I kind of fought it for months, now like 9 months where we're just make it work. We'll get an antenna on the roof. We'll do this. We'll do that,
Yeah.
And now that this is done, I'm like, I can't believe I fought this for 9 months.
Yeah.
It was, the right thing is usually the harder thing to do.
James, I see your hand up.
So this is just kind of weaves into what Jordan's talking about. Does anybody use any of these new AI answering services or anything? Because I have my office administrator, and she works from home. She has a cell phone. And I just let her kind of go about her day as long as she has a phone with her. But in some instances, she can't get to the phone, or she might be on the other line or something like that. And she always calls them back, but I didn't know from maybe a Google standpoint, if they're coming from the LSAs or something like that, if it might be a benefit to add one of those AI services to back up or actually take the lead on answering everything, so that we don't miss calls. Does anybody experiment with that? Any information that they might share?
Jordan, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, so that was actually going to be my question. So the way our phones are set up right now is that it goes to Bailey, who's our like office assistant, and then it gets, if she's on the phone, then it gets automatically transferred to my wife, and she's second in line, and then it gets automatically transferred to me. So we can basically have 3 calls come in at once. But I'm often not in the office, and the office manager has 4 kids. We have 3. So there's often times where it's difficult to pick up the phone, or we can't pick up the phone. So that was going to be my question. If anybody's used House Call Pro's AI Manager. So like ideally where we are with JS Russell, we want a human always to answer the phone. But in a situation where literally no one can, we're looking into adding House Call Pro's AI assistant that would then answer in those scenarios. And I'm wondering if anybody has used those, if anybody's used House Call Pros specifically, because that's what we're looking at adding in as like a 4th line of event so we don't miss any calls, or for weekends, or for someone calls in at 8 o'clock at night or whatever. Because one of the main reasons we don't have our Google profile showing that we're open 24/7 is because it's like, I don't want to answer the call on Friday night at 10 o'clock at night. But if we had an AI answering service, at least something is fielding that call. So that's our thing, James, is we want a human to answer the phone first. If they can't, and it goes through 3 channels and no one can, then we would like to have an AI assistant do it, but we have no experience with it. So if anybody does, I'd be interested in that as well.
Seeing a lot of activity in the chat. Jordan, you said House Call Pro has a real human version. I have had quite a few clients have experience with that. I think if you're already using House Call Pro, that is a great option because they have access to actually book an appointment. That's where people get frustrated with the AI, is when like they're talking to a robot and really it's just a fancy voicemail. Like the phone gets answered, yes, but all they're doing is taking down information for somebody else to call them back, which is essentially a voicemail. And so it can be more irritating than even just leaving a voicemail.
I think
And
House Call Pros can book the AI, I think, can book the appointments in House Call Pro. I believe so. I'm not 100%
I'm
sure.
sure it can, just like the human. So we also, through our CRM system, we have the ability to add to any of you guys the ability for the AI to answer the phone. It does sound as good as I've ever heard AI sound. It is still very obvious that it is a robot. Like it is still very obvious that it is a robot. It can be a little bit slow to respond, where like somebody will ask a question and it will kind of like pause, and the customer might even go to try to repeat themselves because they think that the person bot is gone. And so I am always a big believer in like having somebody answer the phone. The only time that I'm going to recommend to AI is as a last resort. We're missing a ton of calls, opportunities. Our Google local services rating is going down because we have a bunch of missed calls. And in that case, I only want it to be a temporary solution until we find the long term. At some point, AI will improve. It's already wildly improving. Like I mentioned earlier, it's as good as I've ever heard it sound. But I still don't want it to be our first option, our best option. It's kind of our last resort. House Call Pro is a great place to do it if you already have House Call Pro set up because it can automatically book. That's a little bit fancier than a lot of the other services, or even the one through our CRM system. It can ask some really good questions, but I don't think that is the capability to book, or especially not if you have a different platform. Bryce, I don't know if you have more context.
Yeah. So kind of summarizing that, Jordan, and I think this is a good way to do it. If you are offered one through the CRM system you're already using, use that. because there's a good chance they can also do scheduling. So with House Call Pro, they've had the one where it's a real human for a while now, where that's a default where if you don't answer, it'll pick up. So yeah, we would recommend that. Like Nicole said, we would definitely recommend, for first and foremost, that it's always best to have a real person to answer the phone, but this is a great one to kind of catch those stragglers. To your question, James, yeah, we do think it works, and exactly like you're describing, we would definitely recommend it. And as Nicole mentioned, we do have that through CMM, which is our CRM that we can get people set up on. And if you use the scheduling, like you use the calendar with CMM and keep it up to date, it can also go to the extent of scheduling some of those initial walkthroughs. So short answer to all of that is yes, we think it's a great solution for when you have missed calls or after hours, if you're in the field a lot. But they're getting better and better as well, and you can train them pretty well. I think it's also cool to see that a couple of people in the chat have had experience. So Michael Middleton, I know you said about open phone. If you wanted to unmute, you could add and chime in what you guys have seen as well. And then Benjamin Larrabee too.
So I haven't used the AI on open phone, but we really like open phone just for our phone service that we're utilizing, so we can all see when the phone rings and it records and get AI summary has been great of the conversations, but not the answering service. Sorry.
Gotcha. That's right. And then looks like Benjamin says VoIP Calm has one, but they haven't tried it yet as well. No, good stuff. Brian, do you mind explaining what you mean there with your paging service one?
Sure. We have a local paging service that we've been using for probably 30, 40 years. And it's a live office that when someone calls in, when we turn the phones off in the office, it ports over to them and someone picks up over there. They take down their name, phone number, and the reason they're calling. And that way we actually have a live person at all times that will answer the phone, whether we're here in the office or not. And it's not that expensive. I think they charge by the minute. It's like 50 cents a minute or something like that. And then we're guaranteed to have a real person pick up the phone every time.
Bryce, if you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah,
First day?
I'm used to. Hey, my microphone's broken. Yeah, no, but it sounds like a standard answering service in that case. Pretty similar, which is still good. Nice, good feedback, guys. Thanks for the contributions there. You feel good with that, Jordan? Would you have some follow up to it?
I have a question. I know some people will hire people like out of the country and they just stay on the phone and it's a real person, but it's also very affordable because like the US typically like USD will be stronger in whatever country they're in and they'll just train them up and have them sell to people. Does anybody have experience with that? I know it's like coming a popular thing.
Great question. Got some feedback on that as well. But any clients have any experience actually using one that they can speak to? Okay, maybe not. So Robert isn't here today, but I know with Power Builders, they used an office person in the Philippines, someone that would answer phones. And actually, I've seen a lot of stuff recently, like articles and business journals and stuff that I read that is saying that that's growing. And actually, there's not a big issue with like language barrier. It's so common now that it's really easy to integrate. But yeah, the Philippines has been, that'd be a place you could look specifically to try to find something like that. But yes, you're right. It is a bit cheaper and you can do some active training with those people. And it can be a bit better than a call center because you're not having a general population that'll answer the phone. You actually get a specific rep that you're able to do some work with. But it all comes down to scripting or with the AI, right? Building up the knowledge base so that it has right responses and stuff like that, gives your general culture vibe that you want as well. Mr. Larrabee, what do you got there, sir?
I've researched that VAs pretty heavily, so I've got some suggestions if you want. And one that I would suggest you look into is plug.tech, plugg.tech. They're located in Central Time Zone, so you don't have the massive discrepancy of 12 to 14 hours like you do with the Philippines and India. And also, call it what it is, society tends to gravitate away from Filipino or Indian accents on support, seems like. So having a Hispanic accent or no accent from South and Central America just lends itself a little better to people answering your phones or communicating with your clients. And so Plug Tech is a good option because they're straight down in South and Central America. And they have people that are even in the States, but yeah, it's been a good, I haven't hired anybody yet from there, but the process that they go through has been really pretty effortless. So
That's nice. Yeah, we've used VAs for Redmond Growth, and Robert uses them for power builders, for certain things. And so the way where we found them is through it's called Upwork. It's kind of like Fiverr, if anybody's ever used Fiverr. But you will get a lot of applicants, and you can either hire through Upwork or you can hire people, kind of you meet them through Upwork, but you just hire them like normal. And so, we have one that helps post on Facebook and Instagram for us, just little stuff like that as well. And so that's always an option.
And just one, the VAs, with the reason why the popularity of like finding VAs through sites like that, like Nicole's mentioning, from the Philippines specifically, is not that there still won't be a difference in a little bit of dialect, but English is like a very commonly used language there. It's less of like a learned as a second language. Like a lot of their universities are taught in English, their government operates in English, so they are more familiar. There's less of a language barrier. So if you are looking for a VA, it is best to try and find one that is from the Philippines, because they are going to be able to, not to say there won't be any of the client awkwardness of talking to somebody that's, got an accent or anything like that, but they typically do just communicate better because it's a much more familiar language to them. It's very commonly used in the Philippines. So if you're looking for a VA, that is like an important detail. You want to find one that is based in the Philippines more often than not. And that'll still be cheaper than a lot of the US based ones. So probably not do it as well as like the service that Ben answered, but lower cost, solution to it.
Great feedback today, guys. Any other questions on this or thoughts or going once, going twice? What other questions do we have going on today? Stacy, I think we should kind of open that up to the whole chat here. So your question, and you can totally unmute and elaborate if you want, but just want some tips on training office assistant on answering phones. Our current person is really struggling with a call script. We've tried role playing, but when it comes to the actual customer calls, it always falls off. I myself need to practice more, but looking for tips to help. Has anybody done any training? Does anybody have a script that they use or like quite a bit? Would love to have some advice from clients if you guys have any.
Are you asking me to chime in?
Yeah.
Let me read that. So Stacy was asking, provide tips for training office assistant on answering phones, really struggling with the call script. we've tried role playing, but when it comes to the actual customer calls, it always falls off. So, okay, so a couple thoughts. So one, yes, doing role playing is crucial, and keep doing it until they get it or you figure out it's not the right person. But two, if they're falling off, start looking at your script too, because one of the things we figured out was we have a $65 service call, and for whatever reason we had that at the beginning before we tell them what all that includes. And so Mariah, my office gal, she would like say that and then feel like she's at a race against the clock to add that value. And so one day I was just like, why do we have that at the front? Maybe we should put that at the back of the script and build the value first, then tell them, hey, all this is just $65. And also to add to that, we'll waive that for any work they approve. That way they're just paying for the work instead of both. As soon as we made that change, there was an immediate increase in appointments set on contacts with customers. And so it's kind of both. I know with Mariah, I had to really work with her heavily on tone, because she would like talk like this, and then at the end of every sentence we would raise our voice, you know. And so I was like, hey, I would make her go back and listen to her own calls, and I would say, hey, how do you talk to your family members? Because that's the kind of person I want talking to my customers, because we are professional, but we also want to have that friendly appeal. And so I would just engage her in just conversation and get her to talk to me and just say, hey, that's how we're talking to customers. You know, we're not putting on a different hat whenever a customer calls in, you know. And so I would say it took maybe about 4 months, I think, was around the sweet spot where we really got her settled in really well. And now we're to the point where we have literally had customers ask if she's AI, like, are you a real person? And of course, you know, she laughs and no, I'm, you know, definitely real. And so look at your script, make edits there, make sure you spend the time, make them listen back to themselves, because that's going to be really crucial in their development on that. But
do you guys have a long script or a shorter script? I mean, because it's not really the tone. It's like, she's the most friendliest person ever. Like I am a person that has the terrible tone, that doesn't want to talk to people, you know, like, she's really good with talking to people, really good with the interaction, but it's I don't know, like,
have you listened back to the calls to see
length.
where you see people fall off? Because there's probably a common denominator
Well,
somewhere.
they were falling off every time we did the $59. Well, we did a $59 booking fee. We transitioned to that.
And were you guys telling the customers that before you did yours, like at the beginning of the script, or like
So
towards
we
the end
tried
of
it
it?
both ways. Yeah.
Okay. I would work with your coach maybe on that one. I'm not sure who your coach is, but there's probably something in the process, and you're going to have to go back and listen to calls. If you're not recording them, you should be, because it's really hard to identify issues if you don't. And there's probably a common denominator somewhere. That's what we found. Yeah. Okay. And until we had the process down, it was like there was a lot of different little things, but once we got the process down, we continued to scrutinize it and refine it. And now we went from closing maybe 40% of calls, because we started tracking our KPIs, to we close at least 90% of those on appointments now. So continue to work the plan. You will find it, just stay at it. But you have to dig into it.
4 months sounds a little promising. I was thinking a lot less. So
they're not going to get it in 2 weeks.
It's just
Nobody's
the
gonna
the
get it in
more
2
that
weeks.
you do it, repetition and practice. And so
Yeah.
like what I'd really encourage having dedicated time each week, um, that you guys are listening to calls, you're editing the script, you're role playing it together. The more comfortable that we're getting with the script, with listening to calls, with editing the script, with the more, even just the more that we know the script, so we're not having to follow it. It's kind of muscle memory at that point. You know,
Mhm.
naturally you're going to sound better using that script. And we got to make sure that we're building the value of that $59 and we're kind of disarming it. We're not just saying, okay, well, next step is $59 so we can come out. It's like, okay, awesome. We can definitely help you solve this problem. We're excited to be working with you. Next steps is we're going to send a licensed and trained technician out to your door to give you a detailed and accurate diagnosis with all of the options so you know exactly what's going on, what all the options are to fix it, and what the plan is to get it solved. You're going to know the exact price before we start any work. We make sure to get it signed and agreed upon. We do charge a $59 trip fee. Now, what that trip fee covers is just getting that licensed technician to your door. If you decide to move forward with us, that fee is waived. And so that the only time that gets charged is if you decide not to move forward with us. I've got Tuesday at 2 or Thursday at 9. Which time works best for you?
I would love for you just to answer that call script every time too.
Benjamin just put in the chat to say
I
that
see
too.
that.
Maybe I just start side hustling for you guys.
If
Ask Robert.
if I don't know who your coach is, but if you want to have them reach out to
Nicole's
me,
my
shoot me.
coach.
Okay,
It's
shoot
me.
me an email. I can download a few of our calls just so you have some examples, like real examples to listen to.
Yeah,
be
that would
happy
be
to-
awesome.
I'd be happy to share some. So
Another
Okay.
thing that I think part of what makes Nicole's like that statement work really well is, and Jordan, if I remember correctly, I think one of the things that helped Mariah a lot was, especially when we were doing the value statement before, mentioning the price, was it sounded choppy and stuff because she was really reading it, and so it went from something that built a lot of value to being this long, drawn out thing that was like losing customers.
Well,
So
that's
you put
how
a
I
lot of
kind of
focus there.
feel.
Yeah, and so one of the things is to, if you know the script, if you know the script, like you're not
Yeah.
having to necessarily read it, you can use that to help you guide you through the conversation, but you're not reading it word for word. You can say the same thing that's on the script on the paper, right? But kind of in your own words, more or less. It will sound and feel a lot more natural, and it'll feel like an actual conversation because it kind of is, right? And so that's one of the biggest things is, as long as you're reliant on looking at that script the entire time that you're having that conversation, it probably will feel a little clunkier. But if you just really rep it, even when you're not on the phone, sit there and read it and know, okay, this is this part, this is how I say this line, and then just practice individual components of it. I feel like breaking it down and then just really knowing
Maybe
the
like
script
breaking
by
it down
heart.
on flashcards while role playing. That way it doesn't look like a long script, just little pieces to practice the words. Does that sound dumb?
No, or even convert it to bullet points. Just have the main ideas of
outline.
what needs to be covered. Yep. A skeleton.
And again, like the reason why I was able to rattle that off is because next week is my 7 years at Redmond Growth. And so I have talked to quite a few clients about that call script. And so like I didn't have to have that call script pulled up to kind of say, so like you guys are going to get into that same groove. It's not going to take you 7 years. You answer a lot more phone calls than I do for electricians,
Yeah.
But the having bullet points are just an outline and then just kind of role playing with each other. Like, hey, how would you describe this fee? How would you build value? And you guys are just kind of role playing it together. The conversation is going to feel a lot more natural.
can I chime in one more thing?
No, I'm kidding.
One thing that's really stuck with me, I don't think Travis has said this for a long time. I think this was like early on, probably like at least a year and a half ago. But one of the things he told me was like, your business will require different skill sets from you at different times. And I remember feeling very
emotionally up and down when I first started with them because I just wasn't very good at some things. And I had to really work on myself first.
I agree.
And,
Yeah.
and start, because I was like, well, you know, you hear all the time, like it starts from the top down, but until you're in that position, you don't know what that feels like. And so, I had to actually learn to be the expert on that because then it helped with my training with my people, and it really does make a difference. But I just want to acknowledge the it is hard sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well,
you got to
and
keep
and that's
keep
my
at it.
least favorite thing is answering the phone. So I definitely agree. That's hard for me. And people always, I feel like, try to avoid talking to me because I'm just cutthroat, straight to the point. I want to end the conversation. So
And that's
okay.
okay.
I
You can
appreciate
kind
all the
of,
feedback.
yeah, you can kind of play into that. You don't need to fluff it up. You just need to keep a happy tone. And the biggest thing when you're on the phone with these people is making sure that you communicate that you will take care of their problem. You got
Yes,
to have that
absolutely.
confidence. And so if you're
Yes.
starting to, absolutely, we can definitely help you with that. Here's the next steps. Oh, that sounds right up our alley. Like if we're communicating that, that's going to really build a lot of faith, a lot of confidence, a lot of value. It's really going to soften that fee.
Okay.
But don't feel like the fact that you want to make things as efficient as possible, see that as an advantage, not a disadvantage. Play into
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What Nicole just said is I feel like it like flew under the radar, but that is huge. And I mean huge, expressing confidence that you can take care of a customer's problem, because I do a lot. One thing I'm really good at is sales training. Redmond helped me with everything else though. um, but you'll lose a customer in a flash if they recognize any lack of confidence that you're going to help, because they're literally calling you because you're supposed to be the professional. So I've watched everything else go right, and then one little lack of confidence, it's that one little moment that will cause a customer to go, yeah, I don't think I want to go with this person or these people. So that's huge.
I agree. Thank you.
Yep. And I'll just jump on that with what Jordan said as well. Also for remodelers, we can absolutely be yes men. We should be the yes man, right? You want to make a change? Yep, we can absolutely do that for you. Here's what it's going to cost. State of business, matter of fact, that's what it is. But yeah, you're right. That confidence, that unwavering, yep, we can definitely help you out. Absolutely, we can get that done. Yeah. It's a lot.
What other questions do we have today? Thoughts, concerns, grievances? Things that you're working on?
I got a question for anybody in the group who has any experience in this. So I recently got the office out of the house 3 months ago, and I've been leasing an office space from a place here in town. But my contract's up for renewal. They're raising the rate, and up until let me back up. We have basically an attached guest house that does not pass through to our home, and we've rented it out to some renters. But I'm actually thinking about getting them out and basically leasing the open space to myself, and then leasing out the extra room as another office, maybe to somebody else. And I've talked to my tax person about it. They think there's actually some really great tax benefit there. I'm just curious if anybody else has done anything like that worked well.
Yeah. Sorry, Jordan, what was that question again?
So is anybody like, have property that they've used, basically leased to the business for office space, but also sublet out to others for like an office, and that worked pretty well.
I actually have one. I have a rental property, and then I sublet the back shop and yard area that we cordoned off from the rental property to the business. And it works good because of the income revenue that it shows, but also for tax purposes. And since we're depreciating the property, it makes a whole lot of sense for us.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking where we're at with it right now too. So it'll still be an office out of the house, but also we wouldn't have renters in there tearing the place up and gain a little bit extra revenue from subletting that extra room out as another office space. How did you find the people that rent from you?
Because it's a residential house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's pretty easy to rent in our market. The people that we have in there actually used to be the children's minister at the church we pastor, and so it was easy to, their parents had told us they were looking for a place, and so we rented it to them. And right after I bought it, when they moved back down here from South Dakota, and then it's perfect because the yard's big. I get solar trailer stored there. We got a shop, and then about 4 small outbuildings, and then it's got a yard that we can put equipment in and store stuff.
So rather than have someone rent and live in it, I was talking about like renting it out as like extra office space, like shared office space.
You can do that on Craigslist or almost any of those type of public forums. There's a lot of people out there looking for less expensive per square foot places for office than if you're going into a commercial strip area where it's $19 a square foot, and yours probably going to be less expensive than that. So. And I'm a real estate broker, so that's what I would do. I would do the Craigslist. I would do all of the free stuff that's out there, and you'll be surprised how many people out there, small business guys like us, who are looking for office space but don't want to pay the commercial retail price for space.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sounds like I'm thinking in the right direction here then.
Brian, I see your hand up. What's your thoughts?
Well, I was just going to give you some info on what we did. We have a warehouse that we bought several years ago, and it's several different sections, and we occupy the middle section, and we created an LLC to control the building that we pay rent to. Then we rent out the front section to another tenant, and then they pay into that LLC, which helps just pay the maintenance costs and taxes and all the normal expenses for the building. But everything goes through that LLC for the tax purposes, and then we can pay ourselves out from that at a reduced tax rate and get that benefit.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I'm going to be working with my tax lady to get the details of all that straightened out. But yeah, that sounds great.
The question, or is your hand just still up from?
Sorry, that was it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to skip over you if you had something
No.
else. Okay. What other questions do we have today? Stuff we're working through. Thoughts, concerns, grievances. Okay. Well, one thing that I want to kind of circle back to is if there's 2 things that we can do in CMM. If you want either of them, You just need to talk to your coach, so we can either book a call with Caden, or we can send an action item to Caden to get it implemented. That's one, the AI answering service. And then the other one is there is a feature where it can respond to Google reviews for you. They are actually pretty good responses. Bird's Eye View in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's what they have on theirs to leave comments, and it looks really good. So if you want to look at examples, you can look at their Google business listing. But if either of those two things are things that you are wanting, before looking elsewhere, just know it's already here. So just reach out to your coach, and we'll get you booked and get you kind of set up and walk you through either one. Or even if you just have more questions, reach out and we can go through it. All right. Any other thoughts today?
Tony, if you're here, I think you had a question, unless it got answered in the group chat already. Not to put you on the spot.
Moises, I see your hand up.
Yes. Hey, good morning, guys. Well, morning over here. Just wanted to know, we're having some issues with our employees. Basically, they're not taking good care of tools, and just wanted to know, what do you guys do with that? So they're not, they're not taking care of them or just losing them. So wanted to get some feedback.
Easy answer.
I see a lot of
Yeah.
eager hands going up. Jordan Russell, I saw your hand pop up first. What's your advice there, sir?
One thing I did is we inventoried each van's tools, and we color coordinated them with so we run Milwaukee tools, and all the tools on one van we spray painted orange, all tools and batteries. On another van we spray painted them all white. On another van we spray painted them all green. On another van we spray painted them all blue. So it's really easy to know these tools are on this van, these batteries are associated with this van, and then we inventory each van, and we just do a check like once a month. Hey, what's on your van? What's not on your van? And that seemed to help. I don't know about going down the route of making people pay for them, but I'm a big efficiency person, and so for me, I would rather provide a laser or a portable bandsaw or 10 whatever it is. I would rather provide that stuff, and get jobs done quicker, more efficiently, than be like, well, it's your responsibility to get the tools. And then someone's out on a job and they say, well, I don't have a Sawzall, so what do I do? So we just try to provide everything. But in terms of somebody leaving a light in an attic, we say you got to go back and get that on your own time, but sometimes they don't notice that they've left the light in the attic for 3 weeks and they can't remember where it is.
What attic it's in.
So in terms of sending, I haven't run across someone who's just been totally negligent and lost a ton of stuff. The one example I have is somebody left a light in an attic and or lost a light somewhere and can't remember where we left it, right? But hopefully those things are few and far between. If it's more of a problem, maybe you have to go down the route of they replace them or something like that. But I don't know legally if you can do that.
I think that, Jordan, your advice gives a lot of different, feedback. I don't think there's a one size fits all here. I don't think it's a one thing that's going to solve that problem for you, Moises. One thing is, in your write-up policy, there needs to be a blurb there about, it can be a write-up offense if they are damaging tools, losing tools, whatever. If they're stealing tools, that's a fireable offense. If they're using tools without permission on their own jobs or whatever, that's a write-up. Your write-up policy can include whatever the heck you want it to include. So let's make sure that that language is in there. It is very normal. Like even when I was in college, I worked at a coffee shop, and if we broke apart on a really expensive piece of equipment, or if we were dropping a lot of mugs or whatever, that was coming out of our paychecks. Like that is normal. And so you can definitely have that be part of your write-up policy. Just make sure that things are not just verbally communicated. They need to be verbally communicated, but they also need to be written down and signed. I would also do an inventory system like Jordan has, where it's very clear of who has what when, you know. I would also have checklists for the beginning of the day and end of the day, so that it's like, hey, before leaving the job site, these are all of the things I need you to check, from making sure parts are put back where they're supposed to. You know, for our service guys, if it's a van, you know, a checklist for what they're checking before they close up that van for the end of the day. Parts put back where they need, cleaned, all of that. And so I would be doing all of those things. I'd be having the write-up policy, I'd be having checklists, and I'd be having an inventory. Otherwise, it's kind of the Wild West with your tools.
The biggest thing that we did was color coordinate each van's tools to a different color. So I know people are like, oh, brand new DeWalt tool, brand new Milwaukee tool, you're spray painting it. I don't give a shit about that. I would rather not lose it and rather keep them separated than worry about my tool looking pretty.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was thinking to do. Just get like a, what you said. I mean, we do that. We spray paint them too, but I was thinking of getting like a bundle of tools, and that's what I'm gonna do this Friday. Actually, I'm gonna get some bundle of tools, get all the tools that they have, and give it to me, and then go do that this weekend and get bundles for each guy, and have a list of what they have, and check periodically to see if they lose anything, or if they lose something. I mean, at least we know who's losing what, because right now just everybody's blaming everybody, so
Yeah. So one of the things that we did, and I've always done, hand tools and your standard 18-volt stuff are always required for lead technicians or like lead guys. One thing that I've done as a benefit to them, if they don't have to cash right off, I'll give them an interest-free loan, basically purchase it, and they can basically do a auto deduct, because when they have ownership of it, they're going to take care of it. I mean, if you think of every mechanic shop in the entire USA, those guys are all responsible for all their own tools. They've got to have hand tools, they've got to have pneumatic tools, and every shop I ever worked at as an electrician, I don't know what you guys do, but we always had to have our own hand tools and our own 18-volt stuff. Now, as far as the big ticket items, if you got one drill that's $500, every van generally doesn't need that. That's something that you need for specific jobs or something. And so the big tools I do provide, and they're always available to whoever needs them. But the hand tools and the 18-volt stuff, I don't provide. And it's amazing how well those guys take care of their stuff whenever it's theirs, and then like helpers, they'll just have basic hand tools and maybe a impact or something. And they kind of work off of their lead tech tools. Essentially, if they need a saw or, a grinder, whatever, we use all Milwaukee stuff. So it works out really well that way for us.
Yeah, we do exactly the same thing. Our lead guys have all their own tools. We buy all the big tools, all the stuff that's specialty tools, and then we don't have to worry about them losing, pry bars and screwdrivers and all that. That's all on them.
all right, thank you guys, appreciate it.
We got some hands up that may be leftovers there, Jordan, and then Fred. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, like, I buy all the power tools and I put them in a kit for each van. I never used to, well, I owned them all and then I'd lose them here and there. Yes, people would leave. I think they would take them with them. So now I got a kit put together. Everything's on it. Everybody signs for it. The electrician signs for it. and it states in the thing he signs that he's responsible for it. If it's lost, stolen, if he leaves or he gets fired, he's still responsible for any tool that's missing. And I don't have any tools that come up missing anymore because not even responsible for them, even though I'm still providing them.
Nice. Thanks, Brad. All righty, folks. Well, if you have any burning questions, speak now or hold your peace for a week. All right. Well, you guys know how we like to end this. So we'll have everybody unmute. We'll say growth on 3 and then finish out the week strong. See some cameras coming on, mics unmuting. All right. Growth on 3. 1, 2, 3. Grow.
Growth.
Appreciate you guys for being here.